And which cult takes the #1 spot? You've probably heard of at least one cult, whether from a movie, a documentary, or in the news. But behind every headline lies the same haunting question. How could ordinary, intelligent, kind people surrender everything, even their lives, to a belief that destroyed them? Today, we're not just revisiting these infamous cults for shock value, but to understand the patterns that made them possible. Because those same tactics still exist, only now they're often online, polished, and disguised as inspiration. Here's the truth. Most people don't join cults, they join communities. They're searching for belonging, purpose, or just simple hope. And that's why these stories matter. Every cult begins with something good that gets twisted into control. Let's look at the top 5 of history's most infamous cults and what they reveal about how devotion becomes domination and becomes dangerous. At number 5, we have the Heaven's Gates cult. In the 1970s, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles preached a strange mix of Christianity and science fiction. What was their message? The earth was doomed, and salvation would only come through a UFO. That's right, a UFO. To outsiders, it seems ridiculous, but for their followers, the Heaven's Gates cult offered belonging, purpose, purity. Many were intelligent, spiritual people who believed that they were preparing for a higher existence. Then in 1997, tragedy struck. 39 members took their own lives, believing that their souls will ascend to a spacecraft. It wasn't madness, it was misplaced faith manipulated into obedience. And that's what cult control looks like when devotion replaces doubt. Now, coming in at number 4 is the Branch Davidians. Many of you probably heard about Waco, Texas. David Koresh claimed to be a prophet, the only one who can interpret God's words. He led hundreds of people that lived under his rule at the Mount Carmel compound, where he controlled marriages, money, and even personal relationships. When the federal agents raided the compound in 1993, there was a 51-day standoff that ended in fire and death for more than 70 people, including children. To outsiders, it may seem like fanaticism. For those inside, it was proof that Koresh was right. That persecution fulfilled his prophecy. That's the power of absolute belief in an absolute leader. At number 3, we have the Aum Shinrikyo. In the 1980s, in Japan, Oko Asahara founded Aum Shinrikyo, or the Supreme Truth. He claimed to be both Christ and Buddha, predicting a global apocalypse only his followers could survive. His group attracted scientists, doctors, and engineers, people that were drawn to intellect and spirituality. Asahara's charisma turned dark. He built laboratories, amassed weapons, and began experimenting on his own members. Then came 1995, when the cult released sarin gas on the Tokyo subway, killing 13 and injuring over 1,000. It was one of the deadliest attacks in history, and this is proof that fanaticism and intellect can coexist when critical thinking dies. Coming in at the number 2 cult is the Manson family. In the 1960s, Charles Manson promised his followers peace, love, and freedom. They were disillusioned youth, and in him, they found a father figure, a philosopher, a leader, a teacher, everything that they were missing in their lives. But his message changed, his message got dark, and his message mutated. Manson preached that an apocalyptic race war was coming, something he called helter-skelter. He claimed his group would be the only ones to survive, and they would rebuild the world. And in 1969, he ordered followers to commit the Tate LaBianca murders, including the killing of actress Sharon Tate. Manson never killed anyone himself, but his manipulation made others do it willingly. He didn't lead through fear, he led through control of belief. That's the essence of a cult, when obedience becomes a spiritual act. And which cult takes the number 1 spot? Before we get to that, if you benefit from this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for future content to help combat cult abuse. If you ever heard the phrase, "don't drink the Kool-Aid," then you heard of the cult that takes the number 1 spot. Number 1 is the People's Temple. This name still defines the word cult. Jim Jones founded the People's Temple in the 90s as a movement for equality and justice. He preached compassion, fed the poor, and fought racism. His followers believed that they were changing the world, but over time, Jones's need for power overtook his message. He spied on members, he punished dissent, and claimed divine authority, of course. He led hundreds of his followers to a jungle settlement in Guyana called Jonestown. He called it paradise, but that paradise became a death prison. On November 18th, 1978, after a U.S. congressman was murdered at the airstrip, Jones ordered his followers to drink poison. Over 900 people, men, women, and children, died. It remains one of the largest mass deaths in modern history. And the phrase, "don't drink the Kool-Aid," was born, which is a grim reminder of how easily belief can be weaponized. Those people didn't die because they were foolish. They died because their freedom to doubt had been taken from them long before that day. So, what do all these stories have in common? They start with hope, community, meaning, and belonging. They thrive on emotion, love, fear, and guilt, and they end with control, when one person's voice replaces everyone else's. Today, the same tactics exist, not only in compounds, but in online movements, sponsor cults, and exclusive truth communities. You don't need a spaceship or a jungle to lose your freedom, just a group that makes you afraid to think for yourself. So when you hear about cults in the news, do you see victims or seekers who trusted the wrong people? Most cult members weren't weak, they were hopeful. They wanted connection, purpose, and truth. But those same instincts, when exploited, come chains. Ask yourself, have you ever silenced your doubts to stay accepted? Have you ever felt like questioning made you the enemy? That's where awareness begins, not in judgment, but in reflection. Because the line between devotion and domination isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers in the name of love, faith, or community. Let us know the names of some of the other cults that didn't make the list. Let us know about a cult that you belong to, maybe still belong to, or maybe you know of people that belong to a cult. Tell us about it. Let us know in the comments or contact us via the resources in the video description. I actually belong to a cult called TMOA, or the Muslims of America, which was led by a Pakistani cult leader named Mubarak Jalani. Have any of you heard of this cult? Let us know. So the stories of Jonestown, Heaven's Gate, and the rest aren't just tragedies, they're actually warnings. They remind us that belief without freedom becomes control, and devotion without doubt becomes danger. In the next episode, we'll ask the crucial question, what's the difference between a cult and a religion? Because passion and control may look similar, but one gives you wings and the other clips them. Until then, remember, real truth welcomes questions, allows freedom, and doesn't fear your curiosity. Tune in next time.